Jesus is the star because he is the fulfillment of Balaam, son of Beor's prophecy that he had given about 1400 years earlier from this very spot.
Hi, and welcome to this video about stars in the Bible and biblical numerics. I will be using a video from the YouTube channel Expedition Bible titled Archaeology for the Star Who Will Come from Jacob. You can find a link to the original full video in the description. The star in this image goes by many names. Some call it the Star of David and others the Key of Solomon. For some, it is a symbol of the occult and false gods. The first mention of star or stars in the Bible occurs in Genesis 1:16. Now the word star or stars occurs 37 times in the Old Testament of the King James Bible, and the number 37 is a star number. I am using the King James Pure Bible Search software. You can download that for free at purebiblesearch.com. The star image in this slide consists of 37 words, and these 37 words make up the Shema as stated by Jesus in Mark chapter 12. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. So you see that a number can be visually represented by a star. Now there are an infinite number of star numbers, and they can be obtained by the formula shown in this slide. Now we will be most interested in the numbers 37 and 73, which are the third and fourth star numbers respectively. Let's go to a place in the Bible where the numbers 37 and 73 occur. The 73rd chapter of the New Testament and 37th verse of John chapter 5. And the Father himself, which hath sent me, hath borne witness of me. Ye have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his shape. The word Father, case sensitive, referring to the Father, occurs 259 times in the New Testament, and that is 7 times 37. So we can make 7 stars arranged in a centered hexagonal fashion because the number 7 is a figurative number like a star number. It is a centered hexagonal number. And like 7, the number 37 is also a centered hexagonal number. So I believe that there is this design in the Word of God dealing with these numbers that are figurative, like the star numbers, the centered hexagonal numbers, triangular numbers, and they form designs and shapes like snowflakes and stars. Look at Matthew 13, verse 44. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto treasure hid in a field, the which when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. In this video, I'll be using gematria, and here's an example of English ordinal gematria, and you see the word kingdom has a value of 73, the fourth star number. The word treasure occurs exactly 37 times in the King James Bible. Parables will be of particular interest to us in this video because the first mention of parable in the Bible is connected with Balaam. So without further ado, here's an archaeologist, Joel Kramer.
So in this video, I'm going to be going to several places here in the country of Jordan to talk about the archaeology behind one of the most amazing prophecies in the Bible, known as the Star Prophecy. My first stop is going to be at the Jordan National Museum. Okay, now the first archaeological artifact that I want to show you here is very significant. This is an inscription found in 1967 during excavations at a site down in the Jordan Valley. It dates to the 9th century BC, and its opening line translates as, "The sayings of Balaam son of Beor, the man who was a seer." Now the Balaam son of Beor that is in this inscription is the same Balaam son of Beor that is in the Bible. This is significant because he is the seer, the historical seer, who gives the star prophecy.
Look at 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 9. Before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of God, thus he spake, Come and let us go to the seer, for he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer. The word seer has a value of 47, like the phrase of God. And the word Israel occurs in 47 books of the King James Bible. The number 47 is a very important number in the Bible. Notice that a prophet and a seer are synonymous. So let's go to a New Testament seer, that is a prophet of the highest, John the Baptist. Luke chapter 1 verse 76, And thou, child, shalt be called the prophet of the highest, for thou shalt go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways. The name John has a value of 47, and the mother of John was Elizabeth. And the name Elizabeth means oath of God. And that phrase has a value of 666 using the cipher shown here based off the triangular numbers. Now 666 is also a triangular number. It is the 36th triangular number. Luke 1:7. And they had no child because that Elizabeth was barren, and they both were now well stricken in years. Now doesn't this sound like the story of Abraham and Sarah? In my opinion, children are key to understanding the number 666. In fact, the number 666 is connected with children. Ezra 2:13 states, the children of Adonikim, 666. And children are connected with stars in the Bible. And children are the focus of Luke chapter 1, verse 63. And he asked for a writing table and wrote, saying, his name is John, and they marveled all. Now, the phrase marveled all equals 666 using the standard cipher shown here. At this point, you might be asking yourself, well, what would John the Baptist have to do with the number of the beast and the Antichrist? Well, let's look at some simple patterns. John goes out of his way to say that he is not the Christ. So John represents somebody who's famous who is not the Christ, because the chief priest went down to see him because obviously John had more or less made a name for himself. At the same time, John is a forerunner or predecessor to the Christ, the true Christ. So I believe the false Christ or the Antichrist will come first on the scene before the true Christ comes to gather his church. So how is John connected with the beast? Well, the name John has a value of 47, like the word beast. It is interesting that in these modern times, the word beast has come to be used in a positive sense of people. It is used of people who are at the top of their game, or the best, or the strongest. It represents strength or toughness. So we can see how it will be connected with the Antichrist. And in this sense, John was a true beast. I mean, this guy's living out in the wilderness, eating locusts and wild honey. I mean, this is one tough man. And of course, the Bible gives us important details like his diet. And in the King James Bible, the word eat, case sensitive, combined with the word locust, will add up to 666. And the standard gematria of it is 999. And 666 and 999 are multiples of 37, the star number. The Bible gives us important details. For instance, he was clothed with camel's hair, right? A camel's a beast. And with a girdle of skin about his loins. So he has a skin of a beast around his loins. Well, we see that in the Bible. That's in Genesis chapter 3. His nakedness is covered with the skin of a beast. Go to Genesis 3:7. And the eyes of them were both opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Notice we're in Genesis 3:7, but the word opened occurs 137 times in the King James Bible, and the word naked occurs exactly 47 times. Look at Genesis 3:21. Unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothe them. Notice that some beasts had to die in order to cover the nakedness of Adam and Eve. And coats of skins has a value of 151, like the phrase Jesus Christ. Now it might seem that we have digressed from the subject of stars and Balaam's prophecy, but we're going to tie this all together with the beast in the star prophecy.
Behind me is a Dead Sea Scroll manuscript that is the oldest preserved copy of the star prophecy that was discovered in cave number 4 of the Dead Sea Scrolls. It dates to 125 BC. So I'm at the archaeological site that has been identified as biblical Beth Peor. Looks down over the Jordan Valley, and so from here, some 3,400 years ago, Balaam, son of Beor, gave the star prophecy. So what is the star prophecy? Who is the star? And what is the evidence that this is the biblical site, the authentic site that the Bible is talking about?
Now, the star prophecy is actually a parable, and we're going to go to the first mention of parable in the New Testament. The word parable or parables occurs exactly 47 times in the New Testament of the King James Bible. The word Jacob in the ordinal Hebrew has a value of 47 as well. Matthew 13:3, and he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. Now the word parable has a value of 74, and that's 37 times 2. Notice in Luke 8:11, we're told that the seed of this parable is the word of God. And the phrase the seed has a value of 66, and there are 66 books in the King James Bible. So what I'm going to quickly do is to show you a 37, 47, 74, 111 pattern in the Bible. Now 111 is 37 times 3, so we're looking at multiples of the star number 37, and what we're really doing is going to the root or the beginning of this star prophecy. Look at Matthew 13:24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. This, of course, is the parable of the tares, and let's go look at that in the Old Testament. Now, in the parable, we're told that the seed is the word of God, and let's go see the seed that God sows here in Genesis chapter 1. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Here God speaks 47 words when he makes man in his image. The repeated phrase, and God, case sensitive shown here, capitalized, occurs exactly 74 times in the Old Testament of the King James Bible, as does the word image. And 74 happens to be the value of the name Jesus. So after God speaks 47 words creating man in his image, he then speaks 37 words to him, telling him to be fruitful and multiply. In other words, to have children, and also giving him dominion over the earth. Now remember, I previously said that the children are connected with the 666, the number of the beast. Now we saw that the phrase and God, where and's capitalized, occurs 74 times in the Old Testament of the King James Bible, but the phrase and God with and lowercase occurs 47 times in the King James Bible. So we see this 74-47 pattern here. So following the 37 words telling man to be fruitful and multiply and giving him dominion, God then speaks 74 words defining the diet or food for the creation. And again, 74 is the value of the name Jesus, and it is 37 times 2. So in total, in Genesis chapter 1, God speaks 111 words to man, 37 times 3. The phrase and God, if we ignore case sensitive, occurs 111 times in the King James Bible. So what we're seeing is the good seed that God have sown in regards to man. Notice that the phrase shall be for meat has a value of 137, which is the 33rd prime number, a very important number, as we will see. Look at the beginning of the Shema in Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, has a value of 111. The phrase is one Lord has a value of 111. God is one Lord has a value of 137. And as a side note, the phrase God of Israel equals 111. Now the first commandment of God is given in Genesis 2:16, which is the 47th verse of the Bible. And it extends into verse 17, so there's a total of 47 words in these two verses. And the word freely combined with the word eat, case sensitive, add up to 666 in the King James Bible. And the phrase thou shalt not, case sensitive, and the word eat, case sensitive, combined for 777 in the King James Bible, both multiples of 37. In chapter 3, we have the serpent sowing the tares, the corrupt seed. And notice that the phrase beast of the field has a value of 137. Now there's two primary trees in the garden, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So there's fruit here has a value of 74, which is 37 times 2. The phrase may eat occurs exactly 37 times in the King James Bible. Now think about the number 2. So we have the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. We have Cain and we have Abel. We have Jacob and Esau. Two nations, both prophetic, Israel and Edom. But moving on, we already seen Genesis 3:7. So the main thing at this point is that the serpent has now, his corrupt seed has entered into the picture. And now we come to the beginning, in my opinion, of this star prophecy, because that prophecy deals with the seed of the woman. And after Adam and Eve sin, notice in your King James Bible that God speaks exactly 37 words to Eve. 37 is in the mitochondrial DNA. There's 37 genes in the mitochondrial DNA, which burns sugars. The mitochondria is the powerhouses of the cells, burning sugar, producing heat, maintaining your body at exactly 37 degrees Celsius. In Genesis 3:14 begins the prophecy, the first prophecy in the Bible concerning this seed, who is ultimately a prophecy about the Messiah, Jesus Christ, the King of the Jews. Look at Genesis 15 verse 5. And he brought him forth abroad, and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. Now, stars are a picture of children in the Bible, or sons of God. Now, we're told to count the number of the beast in the Bible, and the word number has a value of 73, the fourth star number. The first mention of the word number in the Bible is in Genesis 13:16. And I'll make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Now remember, what was the serpent to eat all the days of his life? It was dust. And in astronomy, you'll see that stars are often clustered in these big clouds of dust. It is also interesting that scientists consider us to be composed of stardust. And the Bible connects all these together, stars and dust, with sons of God. Look at Job 38:7. When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Adam is called a son of God in the 47th chapter of the New Testament, and the phrase son of God occurs in 47 verses of the King James Bible, and capitalized, referring to Jesus, it occurs exactly 47 times. But we're going to see all this in the book of Numbers when we finally get there. Trust me.
Let's take a quick look at the geography and ancient sites connected with the star prophecy. These places are located in the Jordan Valley, just to the north of the Dead Sea. Located in ancient Canaan, to the west of the Jordan River, and on the western edge of the Jordan Valley, is the fortified city of Jericho. East of Jericho is the Jordan River. And east of the Jordan River, on the eastern edge of the Jordan Valley, is the fortified city of Shittim. The cities of Jericho and Shittim are east and west of each other, on opposite sides of the Jordan Valley. The biblical city of Shittim, or sometimes called Abel Shittim, is today known locally as Tel El Hammam. Next, I'm heading down into the Jordan Valley to the site of Tel El Hammam. So I'm here at Tel El Hammam, and in the biblical world, when you have the ruins of cities stacked on top of each other that make these ancient mounds, this part of the world, they're called tells. And this is one of the largest tells in Jordan. So why have scholars identified this site with biblical Shittim? Well, for starters, the geography matches. The descriptions in the Bible and the location of this site is a match. Numbers 25:1 says Israel was staying at Shittim, across from Jericho. The location of Tel El Hammam fits the biblical location of Shittim, since it is located directly across the Jordan Valley from Jericho. To the west, the Bible describes Shittim as opposite Beth Peor. And again, Tel El Hammam is located opposite or west of the archaeological site of Beth Peor. We have this line described in the Bible, Beth Peor, Shittim, the Jordan River, Jericho. And that's exactly how this site lines up. We also know it archaeologically because this tell has been excavated, and the material that comes from these excavations demonstrates that this site, this ancient mound, was an occupied city at the time of Moses and Joshua, and therefore at the time that the star prophecy was given by Balaam, son of Beor. This was the headquarters for the Israelites as they prepared to cross over the Jordan River to the west of us here into the Promised Land. It was because Israel was staying in Shittim that Joshua sent 2 spies from Shittim to look over the land, especially Jericho, and why, when the Israelites left to cross over the Jordan River, they set out from Shittim. Shittim is their headquarters, and therefore this would be the place that the tabernacle would have been set up. In Numbers 2, the Lord said, "The Israelites are to camp around the tent of meeting." The tabernacle was at the center. That means that Shittim here at Tel El Hammam would have been at the center of the camp.
Let's back up. What's the book of Numbers even about? Numbers chapter 1, verse 2 Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls. Notice that we're counting the children of Israel. We're numbering the children of Israel. Now the phrase, the number, the reverse English of that is 137, like the phrase every male. Polls equals 74, like the name Jesus. Now, people are represented by beasts often in the Bible. Look at Isaiah 34, Psalm 22. How about John chapter 21? Feed my lambs, feed my sheep. Things to keep in mind when we talk about counting the number of the beast. Remember, it's the number of a man. Look here, every male by their polls. Polls equals 74, like the name Jesus, a multiple of 37. Again, the 666 children of Adonikim. Now, the word children has a value of 73. A star number. The phrase every man occurs 274 times in the King James Bible, 137 times 2. And look at that phrase, their fathers, equals 137. Look at verse 3. From 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel, thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies, and with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one head of the house of his fathers. Now the phrase shall be occurs in 666 chapters of the King James Bible. And it is in this very book of Numbers, in the 137th chapter of the Bible, Numbers 20, where Aaron will die. And notice he's the one numbering the children, along with Moses, and neither of them will enter into the promised land.
Because Israel was camped on the west side of the Jordan Valley around their headquarters city of Shittim, Balak, king of Moab, summoned the seer, Balaam son of Beor, to place a curse on them. When Balaam arrived, Balak took him to 3 rocky high places to view the camp of Israel below. Starting in the south and moving north, these 3 lookouts were named Bamoth Baal, Pisgah, and Beth Peor. Then this site, Tel El Hammam, as biblical Shittim, serves for us as a anchor point for what we want to understand about the star prophecy, because Balaam son of Beor is moving from peak to peak, these 3 peaks from the south to the north, and he's giving these different oracles, but this whole time what he's looking at, what he's looking down at, is the camp of Israel. Okay, so I am heading up out of the Jordan Valley, up on top of the plateau, and I'm going to the rocky peak that is the furthest away from Shittim, and that is Bamoth Baal. I am on Bamoth Baal. Bamoth Baal is the first place that Balak, king of Moab, brings Balaam son of Beor. Now, there's no structures up here or anything like that, but there is scattered pottery all over the place up here on this high place, this viewpoint, and this is the site that makes geographical sense for being Bamoth Baal. From here it says that Balaam could only see the outskirts of the camp of Israel. The tabernacle would have been at Shittim, at Tel El Hammam, which is still quite a distance to the north of here. And so the outskirts that Balaam would have been looking at from here would have been the southern outskirts of the camp of Israel. He says, from the rocky peaks, I see them. I see Israel. And he's absolutely overwhelmed by how many there are. He says, who can count the dust of Jacob? Who can count even a fourth of Israel?
Now Balak wants Balaam to curse the children of Israel, that is to say, Jacob. And Jacob, as I said earlier, has a value of 47 using the Hebrew ordinal. And we're going to see how Jacob is connected with the beast. Let's look at Numbers 23:9. For from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. The phrase the nations occurs 37 times in the New Testament. Now, think of the usage of that phrase in the book of Revelation. Verse 10, who can count the dust of Jacob and the number of the fourth part of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last end be like his. Look at all this 137 patterns in this verse. The phrase, who can count, equals 137. The phrase of Jacob, the reverse, is 137, like the phrase, the number. The word count combined with the word dust equals 137. And dust and number, those two words combine for 137. We will see this number 137 connected with the Star of Bethlehem. Look at Job 38:37. Who can number the clouds in wisdom, or who can stay the bottles of heaven? Like the phrase who can count, the phrase who can number equals 137. And that's because the words number and count both equal 73, a star number.
And his job is to put a curse on them, but God speaks through him and says, how can I curse what I have not cursed? These are the people that he leads, that he lives, dwells among. How can he curse them? And so when Balaam goes to curse them, actually a blessing comes out instead. And this causes great stress to Balak. But he says, okay, let's go to another viewpoint, which is north of here, across the valley to Pisgah he takes him. And so that's at Mount Nebo. And we'll follow in the footsteps of Balaam and Balak. And so we will go from here, Baal, to Pisgah, Mount Nebo. So now I've moved over to Pisgah, which is Mount Nebo. Now, this is the biblical site that is called both Mount Nebo and Pisgah in Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 1. It's basically the lookout, the viewpoint from Mount Nebo. Now, of course, this is where Moses died, but before Moses died, he looked out over the Promised Land. And before that event, Balaam, son of Beor, was here. And so while Moses was looking out over the Promised Land, Balaam, son of Beor, was looking down at the promised people. We're further north than we were at Bamoth Baal, but we're still quite a bit to the south of Shittim, Tel El Hammam, where the tabernacle would have been. I can see the Tel of Shittim from here. However, there's no way I would be able to see from here the tabernacle. It would be too small. What I would be able to see, and what I believe Balaam was looking at, was the glory cloud that came up from the Holy of Holies of the tabernacle. He starts out by saying in his oracle what God is not. He says God is not human. And then he goes on to say the name of God, Yahweh, because we have Lord all in capital letters, so that means Yahweh is there. Yahweh, their God, is with them. The shout of their king is among them.
Now, I wish Joel would use a King James Bible. I don't know what translation he's using, but it is terrible, to be honest. But let's look at Numbers 23:19. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? The phrase is not a man. The reverse is 137. Son of man, case sensitive, lowercase, occurs exactly 47 times in the King James Bible. The phrase do it occurs in 37 verses of the Old Testament. Look at verse 20. Behold, I have received commandment to bless, and he hath blessed, and I cannot reverse it. Word behold occurs in 37 books of the Old Testament, and the word commandment occurs in 333 verses of the Old Testament. That is, all forms of the word commandment, like commandment, commandments. And 333, of course, is 37 times 9. Verse 21, he hath not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither hath he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. Now, Lord his God equals 111. The phrase a king occurs exactly 47 times in the King James Bible. The phrase the shout of equals 137. The phrase shout of a king equals 146, which is 73 times 2, and the same value of the reverse of Jesus Christ. Verse 22, God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. And the word strength equals 111. Unicorn equals 94. That's 47 times 2. Verse 23, surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. According to this time it shall be said of Jacob and of Israel, what hath God wrought? The word according occurs exactly 666 times in the Old Testament, and as I've already said, the phrase shall be occurs in 666 chapters of the King James Bible. Now enter the beast. Verse 24, behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion, and lift up himself as a young lion. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey and drink of the blood of the slain. And the lion is the king of the beasts. And we learn in the great book of Revelation in chapter 5 that Jesus is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Again, the king of the beasts. Look at that word lift equals 47 and the word up equals 37. Notice that the word blood occurs 447 times in the King James Bible.
What is Balaam seeing from here? He's seeing the God of Israel and his glory cloud and his presence coming up from the Holy of Holies of the tabernacle. So this is the king that Balaam is referring to. He's not talking about a human king. They won't have a human king for several more centuries until the time of King Saul. And then from here it says in Numbers 23, 27 through 28, it says, then Balak said to Balaam, come, let me take you to another place. And Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, overlooking the wasteland. So to follow their movement, Balak and Balaam, then we need to go another valley over this. And so we need to cross that valley to the next ridge over, which is where Beth Peor is. So I've crossed over the Valley of Moses from Pisgah, and now I'm on the ridgeline and descending down to the final peak that we're going to go to, the final high place of Beth Peor. Now I am here at the archaeological site identified as Beth Peor. Now why is this Beth Peor? Well, for one thing, it's at the precise right location.
Deuteronomy 3:29 says Shittim is located in the valley opposite Beth Peor. This matches the location of the archaeological site identified as Beth Peor, since it is opposite or east of Shittim at Tel El Hammam. This is the site identified as Beth Peor. This is the site identified as Shittim. These two sites are opposite each other, meaning they are east and west of each other. Deuteronomy chapter 34 says that Moses died on Mount Nebo at the top of Pisgah, and was buried in the valley opposite Beth Peor. This shows that Pisgah and Beth Peor are located opposite each other with a valley between them. And indeed, the two archaeological sites identified as Pisgah and Beth Peor are located opposite, that is, north and south of each other, with a valley separating them that is known to this day as Wadi Musa, the Valley of Moses.
This particular site also is significant because as you come down this ridge line, when you get to this precise place where this archaeological site is, for the first time, you get a view down into the Jordan Valley. And I'm looking straight down on Shittim at Tel El Hammam. Remember that in the previous two high places at Bamoth and Pisgah, Balaam could only see a portion of the Israelite camp. But from here it says that Balaam looked down on the Israelites encamped tribe by tribe.
Numbers 24:2. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Israel abiding in his tents according to their tribes, and the Spirit of God came upon him. Notice tribes equals 73, like the word children. Again, a star number. Verse 3, and he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor, hath said, the man whose eyes are open hath said. Look at that phrase, are open equals 74, like the name Jesus. Verse 4, he hath said which heard the words of God, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. That phrase, heard the words, has a value of 148. That's 74 times 2. And the reverse of vision is 74. And of course, 74 is the value of the name Jesus. Verse 7, he shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. The phrase, his king, equals 77, like the word Christ. Verse 9, he couched, he lay down as a lion, and as a great lion, who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesseth thee, and cursed is he that curseth thee. So here we have Jacob likened to a great lion, the king of the beasts, or at least his seed, his dust, which ultimately is a prophecy about Jesus Christ.
Now, the other thing that helps us to understand is I'm standing at an archaeological site. It is in the Roman period, a Roman fort, but the pottery goes back much earlier than that, back into Old Testament times. Now, it is from here that Balaam gives the star prophecy in Numbers chapter 24, verse 17. He says, I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star will come out of Jacob. A scepter will rise out of Israel.
Let's look at Numbers 24, verse 17, the King James Bible. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. So the phrase shall rise occurs exactly 37 times in the King James Bible. And the first mention of scepter is in Genesis 49 in connection with Judah and the lion, where the scepter shall not depart from Judah. So here again, we're connected with that lion, the king of the beasts.
He sees this person who is a star coming out of Jacob. Now, in order to understand this, we need to understand the symbol of a star in ancient times.
The Bible in Amos 5:26 refers to idols as the star of your God. The various gods of the nations are often represented by the symbol of a star.
In ancient times, a star symbol represented deity. A star was a god.
Now the word God, lowercase, occurs exactly in 47 verses of the Old Testament. The phrase which ye, as found in Acts 7:43, occurs exactly 37 times in the New Testament. And of course, all forms of the word star or stars occurs 37 times in the Old Testament.
And in my book, Where God Came Down, the archaeological evidence, I cover also the scepter. And I have many pictures of a royal scepter in my book here. If you're interested in getting a copy of this book, I'll leave a way that you can link where you can order it in the description below. So a scepter is the symbol of a king. So just as star means God, scepter means king.
When the prophecy says a scepter will rise out of Israel, it means a king will rise out of Israel. We know this Assyrian is a king because he holds a scepter. He also is pointing to his star god.
So what Balaam, son of Beor, is saying is that the most important thing about these people camped down below here is that not now, not near, but in the future, from them will come the God King. From them will come the divine king. Israelites believed in only one star. They had only one star. Besides their God, there was no other God. And so the concept of a star coming out of Jacob meant that Yahweh himself was going to come out of Jacob. He was going to become an Israelite.
Now before we go to Matthew chapter 2, let's look at Luke 1 again, verse 37. For with God nothing shall be impossible. This is the Immaculate Conception, okay? So this happens to be the 137th mention of the word nothing in the Bible, and it's in Luke 1:37. Of course, we've seen that phrase shall be in 666 chapters of the Bible, but that word with, the word was with God, right? The word with occurs 1,369 times in the New Testament, the 37th square. And remember, Elizabeth means what? Oath of God. And look at verse 73, Luke 1:73, the oath which he sware to our father Abraham. That is the ultimate oath of God. That is the promise of the Savior, the Messiah, Jesus. Oath, exactly 47 times in the Old Testament. And all forms of the name Abraham, that is Abraham and Abraham's possessive, occurs exactly 74 times in the New Testament. The value of the name Jesus.
This explains why there are so many stars found in the Jewish archaeological context. The star on this Israelite handle is dated to the 7th century BC. This star-stamped handle from Jerusalem is from the 2nd century BC, when stars are also commonly found on Jewish coins. Stars are also commonly found in the decorations of synagogues.
So according to this prophecy, then who is the star? What does the star represent? The star represents the coming Messiah. Where does this come from? It comes from the Torah itself, the book of Numbers.
Jerusalem is located in the mountains on the west side of the Jordan Valley, on an ancient road known as the Ridge Route. On the mountains on the east side of the Jordan Valley is the city of Heshbon, located on an ancient route called the King's Highway. A major route connecting the King's Highway and Ridge Route passed by Beth Peor and Abel Shittim. This was the main approach to Jerusalem from the east, and later was made into a Roman road. The Roman name for Shittim at Tel El Hammam was Libius. Around AD 330, the historian Eusebius wrote about a site he called Beth Fagor that was opposite Jericho, 6 miles above Libius. Beth Fagor is Beth Peor. Beth Peor was marked with Roman mile markers, inscribed with 6 Roman miles, but were later taken by archaeologists to Mount Nebo to be displayed in the museum there. In the New Testament, Matthew 2:1 says, "After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, 'Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him.'"
Matthew 2 verse 1, "Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him." Now, notice that the phrase, "seen his star," equals 137. Like the phrase, "I shall behold him," that we saw in Numbers 24:17 in the star prophecy. Verse 4, "And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born." And of course they quote Micah 5:2, "But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from old, from everlasting." And look how that word ruler is connected with the name Jesus. Ruler equals 74. Jesus equals 74, like Messiah. The standard for ruler 515, just like the name Jesus. And in the trigonal cipher, that word ruler, 600, 6. Now, Jesus is a ruler. Antichrist will be a ruler. He's going to be another Jesus. So you see this duality with the number 666. Don't get caught up as to where everything having to do with 666 and the number of the beast has to be evil or connected with evil. It's actually a number connected with wisdom.
Since the Magi came to Jerusalem from the east, the logical route they would have taken is the road that passed by Beth Peor, since this is the main approach to Jerusalem from the east. Next to the archaeological site of Beth Peor, evidence for this road can still be seen.
The Roman road comes right past the site here. What is the archaeological evidence for the road? Well, we have the remnant of these leftover pillars that are strewn around. Here's the base of one. There's another one, piece of a pillar behind me. You see here part of a pillar from the Roman road. The Roman road came right through here. So these Roman pillars, like this one, have rolled down the hill. And so we have evidence that the Roman road came through here. Some of the pillars were taken over to be displayed in a museum. These are the actual Roman mile markers that Eusebius saw and that he is writing about. And these were brought over from Beth Peor to be displayed here on the grounds at Mount Nebo. It's significant because this is also the logical route that the Magi took in Matthew chapter 2 in the 1st century AD. They would have come through here. What were they following? They were following a star. The star prophecy is fulfilled when Jesus is born in Bethlehem. And so the Magi are going to worship the star and the scepter, the God King that has become an Israelite. And so they're coming through here on this Roman road right past the site where here, about 1400 years earlier, Balaam gives the star prophecy. And now they're going to meet the one who is the fulfillment of that. They first go to Jerusalem. They ask, where is the king that has been born? We've seen his star rise in the east, and we have come to worship him. He's not just a human king, he's the God king. Then they follow the star on from there to Bethlehem until it comes to rest over the child, and then they bow down and worship him.
Verse 9, when they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. Now the phrase and to the reverse is 137. The phrase and lo, the star also equals 137. And the reverse of child was equals 137. Verse 10, when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. The phrase when they saw equals 151, just like the phrase Jesus Christ. Verse 11, and when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. The phrase the young child equals 151, like Jesus Christ. The reverse of worshipped is 137. We had already seen that the word opened occurs exactly 137 times in the King James Bible, and the reverse of presented is 137.
It's not surprising then that the star also became a Christian symbol. These stars adorned the mosaic floors of ancient churches, symbolizing Jesus the Messiah, who in Revelation 22:16 declared himself to be the bright morning star.
Revelation 22:16 reads, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. Now, the phrase I am using the trigonal cipher equals 137. And we just see this 73, 37 pattern here. Churches occurs 37 times in the King James Bible. The reverse of the bright equals the reverse of Jesus Christ, which is 146, 73 times 2. Morning star, 148, that is 74 times 2.
In the medieval period, we get this different interpretation about the star prophecy, that the star prophecy is really about King David. That's who it was talking about. And so an interpretation that it's the Messiah, or that it's referring to Jesus, would be considered a Gentile interpretation, a wrong interpretation, a Christian interpretation. However, the oldest copy of the star prophecy that we have is in the Jordan National Museum. It comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's dated to 125 BC. What does BC stand for? Before Christ. 125 years before Jesus fulfilled the star prophecy by being born in Bethlehem, we have this oldest copy that preserves this prophecy. And not only that, but it's not actually a direct quote of the prophecy. It's Jews at that time writing down their expectation that Balaam, son of Beor's prophecy about the star and the scepter coming is still going to take place. It's still going to be fulfilled. Jesus is the star because he is the fulfillment of Balaam, son of Beor's prophecy that he had given about 1,400 years earlier from this very spot. I will leave a link in the description below where you can order a copy of my book.
Now I've put links to Joel's video in the description. Also, I put a link to where you can buy the book on Amazon.com. I have purchased the book. I recommend that you go and subscribe to Expedition Bible, their channel. It's an excellent channel. I just wish you would use a King James Bible. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. God bless and bye for now.